The story begins outside a bank where a group of dangerous robbers wearing monkey masks are locked in a fierce gunfight with the police. The officers do everything they can to stop them, but the robbers plant an incredibly powerful bomb on the door of an armored truck. The truck is loaded with gold, and only a few seconds remain before the bomb explodes. Just then, a mysterious woman arrives at the scene. She creates a powerful energy shield around herself and defeats all the robbers in an instant with devastating energy waves. After that, she rips the armored truck's door right off and tries to escape with all the gold. At that moment, Brandon suddenly appears. Brandon is the son of the world's greatest superhero, the Utopian. He is completely confident that he can handle the mission all by himself. He orders the woman to surrender, but instead of listening, she launches a massive energy blast straight at him. The attack sends Brandon crashing into a nearby building. It becomes clear that he had badly underestimated his opponent. Mocking him, the woman says he is nothing like his parents and is nothing but a disgrace to their legacy. She is about to finish him with one final attack when the Utopian suddenly arrives. Without any effort, he blocks her attack, grabs her with one hand, and shatters her seemingly unbreakable energy shield as if it were made of paper. He then throws her high into the air, bringing the battle to an end. But instead of praising his son, the Utopian scolds him. He tells Brandon that fighting alone is never the smart choice, and asking teammates for help when needed is never a sign of weakness. He hopes Brandon will make wiser decisions the next time. A few hours later, we see the Utopian, whose real name is Sheldon, talking to his wife, Grace, about the incident. He admits that Brandon still has a lot to learn and needs to become much more mature before carrying the responsibility of the world's greatest superhero. But neither of them realizes that Brandon is standing on the roof, secretly listening to their entire conversation with his super hearing. Hearing his parents speak that way leaves him deeply heartbroken. Just then, his uncle Walter walks over to him and begins telling him an old story. The story takes us back to the year 1929, when Sheldon and his younger brother Walter were helping their father Chester run the family business. Their dream was to expand the company and open many new mills. With that hope, they invested almost all of their savings into the business. But then the stock market suddenly crashed, and within moments, their company was pushed to the edge of ruin. The family's dream, built over many years, started falling apart. A terrified Sheldon rushes to the company searching for his father. There he finds Chester quietly staring out toward the city. Sheldon calls out to him in panic, but Chester simply says that everything will be all right. And in the very next moment, he jumps from the height and takes his own life. And with that, the real journey of this story begins. In the present day, Sheldon and Walter are talking about how much the world has changed over the years. They discuss how people once looked up to superheroes with hope and inspiration, but now that trust is slowly fading away. Their conversation is suddenly interrupted when Fitz arrives with a terrifying piece of news. One of the world's most dangerous supervillains, Blackstar, has escaped from prison. As soon as they hear this, all the superheroes rush toward a remote forest where Blackstar is already waiting for them. The moment the battle begins, Blackstar displays his overwhelming strength. He grabs the Utopian and hurls him a massive distance away. Seeing her husband in danger, Lady Liberty immediately rushes in to help, but Blackstar proves to be far stronger than her and easily knocks her to the ground as well. The Utopian attacks again with all his strength, but none of his blows have any effect on Blackstar. It seems as if nothing can even hurt him. Blackstar then strikes back and sends the Utopian flying once again. As the situation keeps getting worse, Brandon and the other superheroes join the fight. At the same time, Walter uses his telepathic powers to freeze Blackstar's mind for a few moments, giving the other heroes a chance to attack. But even after taking so many hits, Blackstar quickly recovers. He then reveals his deadliest weapon, an antimatter cannon. Its blast is so devastating that 3 superheroes are killed on the spot. Seeing this, the remaining heroes are left completely shocked, and the battle begins slipping out of their control. When everyone realizes there is no other choice left, the Utopian and Lady Liberty hold Blackstar down with all their strength so he cannot move. At the same time, Walter uses his psychic abilities to separate Blackstar's soul from his body. But Blackstar keeps resisting and starts charging his antimatter cannon once again. If it fired a second time, everyone standing there would have been killed. Watching his family and teammates facing certain death, Brandon wastes no time, flies straight toward Blackstar, and smashes his head with one devastating punch. The blow cracks Blackstar's skull open, killing him instantly. The moment he dies, the antimatter explosion stops, and everyone's lives are saved. But even after saving them all, Sheldon does not praise Brandon. Instead, he angrily scolds him, saying that a superhero never takes a life, no matter how dangerous the enemy may be. It goes completely against everything they stand for. He orders Brandon to return home immediately and forbids him from joining another mission. After the battle ends, Walter becomes suspicious about everything that happened. He feels that something is seriously wrong. Using his telepathic powers, he contacts the prison prison director, and the truth that comes out leaves everyone stunned. The real Blackstar was still locked inside the prison. That means the enemy they had just defeated was not the real Blackstar, but a perfect clone of him. Afterward, Grace holds a press conference for the media. She apologizes to the public for Brandon's actions and says that killing any villain goes against the superhero's code. But then the reporters reveal that according to a recent survey, 78% of the people believe Brandon did exactly the right thing. After Brandon's decision, public opinion begins to change completely. Most people believe that superheroes should move beyond their old ideals. If a villain becomes a threat to innocent lives, they should be eliminated instead of being left alive. Hearing all this, the Utopian steps onto the stage and clearly says that taking a life goes against the code of their union. A true superhero never kills anyone, no matter how dangerous the enemy may be. But instead of listening to him, the crowd begins turning against him. It is now obvious that many people are tired of the old rules and fully support Brandon's decision. Afterward, Sheldon speaks to Brandon in private. He explains that every decision Brandon makes affects not only him, but also the entire family. Since he is the Utopian's son, the whole world is always watching him. That is why he must think carefully before making any decision. Brandon calmly replies that he had only two choices at that moment: either kill the fake Blackstar or let his father die. He says that even if the same situation happened 1,000 times, he would always make the same choice to save his father's life. But Sheldon refuses to accept his answer. He says that rules remain rules under every circumstance, and they must always be followed. According to him, there is always another solution to every problem. They just have to find it. Taking someone's life can never be the right answer. As punishment for breaking the union's code, he suspends Brandon from all superhero missions for a while and orders him to work on the family farm. The story then returns once again to the year 1929. After their father's death, Sheldon and Walter are trying to figure out what will happen to the company. Just then, their friend Fitz arrives with his father, Willie. They are carrying a newspaper, and the headline leaves Sheldon completely stunned. The newspaper claims that Chester stole the employees' pension money to save the company, and after the truth came out, he took his own life out of shame. Furious after reading it, Sheldon storms into the newspaper office. There he meets a young reporter named Grace, who wrote the article. Grace tells him that every detail had been carefully verified before the story was published. But Sheldon refuses to believe a single word she says. He accuses all journalists of making money by ruining people's lives and reputations, then angrily walks away. When he returns to the company, Walter reveals a truth that shocks him to his core. Walter admits that the newspaper story was true. Their father really had used the employees' pension money to keep the company alive, but he did not steal it for his own luxury. His plan was to grow the business and repay every penny later. However, when the stock market suddenly crashed, everything fell apart. The company collapsed, all the money was gone, and with no way out, he ended his own life. Walter also tells him that the company has no money left at all. They have no choice but to shut it down forever. Hearing this, Sheldon gathers all the employees with a heavy heart and tells them that there are no jobs left for anyone. But the biggest shock comes when the workers learn that their entire pension savings are gone forever. The moment they hear this, the furious crowd erupts in anger. Some of them begin accusing Sheldon of the theft and move toward him, blaming him for the family's complete downfall. Fitz and his father, Willie, quickly step in to calm everyone down. They realize that if the crowd is not stopped now, the situation will only get worse. They explain that Sheldon is not responsible for this tragedy. The real cause is Chester's death and the company's bankruptcy. They also remind everyone that losing their jobs is painful, but taking the law into their own hands would only make things worse. If anyone attacks Sheldon, they will end up in prison. Hearing this, the crowd slowly calms down and eventually leaves the place. After that, Sheldon arrives at his father's funeral. He begins speaking in front of everyone to give his father a final farewell, but suddenly he feels extremely dizzy. Everything starts spinning before his eyes, and he collapses unconscious onto the ground. While unconscious, he experiences a strange vision. He sees a mysterious island in the middle of the ocean where an old windmill stands with its 3 blades missing. The vision disappears in the very next moment, and Sheldon suddenly wakes up. He tells Walter about the strange dream, but neither of them realizes that Chester's spirit is quietly standing behind Sheldon, watching him the entire time. The next morning, Walter meets his friend George and tells him that Sheldon has completely changed over the past few days. He has been mentally shattered by everything that has happened. So, Walter asks George to go and stay by his friend's side. George immediately heads to Sheldon's house. Even before reaching the door, he hears someone shouting loudly from inside. When Sheldon opens the door, his face looks exhausted and completely worn out. George asks who he was yelling at. Sheldon simply smiles and avoids answering. But the truth is that he keeps seeing the spirit of his dead father, who constantly haunts him. During their conversation, Sheldon says that he wants to return to work again. Just then, his eyes fall on an unfinished drawing lying on the table. He tears it apart and, without looking at it, starts drawing the exact same picture again from memory. George is left stunned because Sheldon never had any interest in drawing. To change the mood, George suggests going outside for a walk, but at that very moment, Chester's spirit appears before Sheldon once again. Sheldon completely loses control, throws the chairs around, and starts screaming at the top of his lungs. George is frightened by everything he sees, but instead of leaving his friend alone, he decides to stay with him. That night, after Sheldon falls asleep, George begins picking up the scattered pieces of paper around the room. He carefully puts them together like a puzzle. As soon as the picture is complete, the same mysterious windmill appears on it. At that exact moment, Sheldon experiences another strange vision. This time, he sees an old farmhouse, followed by the sudden sound of a gunshot. George immediately tries to call an ambulance, but Sheldon quietly picks up the windmill drawing and slips away before anyone notices. He is now determined to uncover the truth behind these mysterious visions. He sets out on the journey alone. This was during the Great Depression, when poverty and hunger had spread everywhere. After a long journey, he reaches a small town in Kansas. As he walks through the streets looking for a telephone, he notices several starving people stealing bread from a shop. Feeling sorry for them, Sheldon tries to help, but the angry crowd grabs him instead, beats him, and knocks him to the ground. Just then, a little girl walks over to him. She picks up the windmill drawing that had fallen from Sheldon's hand. The moment she looks at it, the expression on her face suddenly changes. She asks him in surprise if he is not from this area. Then she asks how he got a drawing of that windmill. Hearing this, Sheldon excitedly asks if she recognizes the place. The girl smiles and tells him that he is on the right path, then asks him to keep moving forward. Sheldon continues following the direction she gave him. After walking some distance, he arrives in front of an old farmhouse. He is completely stunned because it looks exactly like the one he saw in his mysterious visions. At that moment, he becomes certain that none of this is a coincidence. He slowly walks toward the house, knocks on the door, but no one answers from inside. Finally, he opens the door, steps inside, and begins carefully searching every corner of the house. As soon as Sheldon steps inside the old house, an elderly man suddenly points a shotgun at him. Furious, he demands to know how Sheldon dared to enter his home without permission. Sheldon calmly explains everything. He says that he has seen this place many times in his mysterious visions, which is why he came here to uncover the truth. Hearing this, the old man's expression suddenly changes. He stares at Sheldon in surprise and says that he once had strange visions just like those. He then introduces himself as Mr. Miller and invites Sheldon to sit down while offering him a glass of juice. He tells Sheldon that after drinking it, he will forget everything and return home. But Sheldon firmly refuses to drink it. Suddenly, Mr. Miller starts speaking in a very strange way. At that very moment, Sheldon sees the spirit of his father, Chester, warning him not to trust a single word the old man says. Looking at Sheldon's face, Mr. Miller immediately realizes that he is seeing a spirit. He asks whether the voice belongs to someone close to him. Then he explains that such spirits often take the form of family members and should never be trusted because they never tell the truth. Before Sheldon can fully understand what is happening, Mr. Miller's gun suddenly fires on its own. The bullet strikes Mr. Miller and he instantly collapses to the floor. Sheldon panics, but then he notices blood flowing from a hidden space beneath the wooden floor. He quickly pulls the floorboards aside and climbs down. The horrifying sight below leaves him completely stunned. The bodies of every member of Mr. Miller's family are lying there. Just then, he notices several mysterious symbols carved into the wall. The moment he touches them, another strange vision flashes before his eyes. This time, he sees his father's old pocket watch resting on a table. Beside it, several strange coordinates are written down. In the very next moment, the vision changes. All the dead bodies disappear, and in their place, several people are sitting around a table. Among them are Walter, George, Fitz, and Grace, while a few of the other faces are complete strangers to Sheldon. Then this mysterious vision suddenly fades away as well. After that, Sheldon returns and meets Walter, and together they go back to the house once again. But the mysterious visions refuse to stop. That night, Chester's spirit appears before Sheldon once again. Finally, Sheldon decides that he must reach the truth behind this mystery. He secretly takes his father's old pocket watch from the coffin because he is now convinced that the watch is deeply connected to these strange visions. Afterward, he meets George and shows him the coordinates he saw in his vision. After examining them, George George explains that they point to a location in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Sheldon also tells him about all the people he saw sitting around the mysterious table, including the fact that George himself was one of them. Sheldon is now completely convinced that all these events are connected and that they are hiding a secret capable of changing the entire world. For the first time, he asks someone for help. George trusts his friend and agrees to help him find every person who appeared in that mysterious vision. The story then returns to the present day. At the headquarters of the Union of Justice, everyone is examining the body of the fake Blackstar. During the autopsy, Fitz discovers a tiny metal sphere hidden inside the body. No one can figure out what it is, but when they open it, everyone is left completely stunned. Inside the sphere is an old pocket watch identical to the one Chester once owned. Seeing this, Sheldon immediately rushes home and takes out the pocket watch he secretly kept after removing it from his father's coffin years ago. It is still safely hidden where he left it. That means there are now two identical pocket watches. This mystery leaves everyone completely confused. After carefully thinking everything through, Walter finally shares his opinion. According to him, there is only one person who can solve this puzzle, and that person is George. The story then returns to the past once again. Sheldon, Walter, and George arrive at the newspaper office where Grace is packing up her belongings because she has lost her job. Sheldon regrets the way he treated her before. He apologizes to Grace and offers her a new job. He explains that he is about to begin a mysterious journey and wants her to document everything that happens along the way. Grace finds the idea fascinating and agrees to join them. After that, Sheldon and George visit Fitz at his house and tell him about their plan. They explain the mysterious coordinates and try to convince him to come with them. Sheldon promises to pay him the equivalent of 6 months' salary, and if they discover anything valuable during the journey, he will receive an equal share. Even after hearing such an incredible offer, Fitz firmly refuses and throws them out of his house. But after they leave, Fitz's son tells his father that he has just turned down the biggest opportunity of his life. He reminds him that Sheldon has never been a dishonest man. The mistake was Chester's, not Sheldon's. His son's words deeply touch Fitz. He immediately runs after Sheldon and tells him that he has changed his mind and now wants to be part of this mysterious journey. Meanwhile, Sheldon goes to meet his brother, Walter. Walter is angry because Sheldon failed to attend a very important company meeting. Because of his absence, they lost the vote, and now their family company is going to be sold. But Sheldon is no longer worried about the company. His only concern is the mysterious journey ahead. He tells Walter about the strange coordinates and says they might change their lives forever. But Walter refuses to listen to a single word. Believing that the company's responsibilities are far more important, he walks away. After Sheldon fails to convince his brother, George decides to speak with Walter himself. He explains that Sheldon has lost almost everything after their father's death and the collapse of the company. Maybe this journey will give him a reason to live again. After thinking it over for a long time, Walter finally agrees to join the expedition. Now the entire team is ready. After that, they begin searching for a captain who is willing to take them to the mysterious location in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. But the problem is that the waters around that area have a terrible reputation. Many ships that sailed there had vanished without leaving a single trace. Because of that fear, almost every sailor refuses to go with them. The story then returns to the present once again. This time, several young superheroes are fighting a group of dangerous supervillains. The battle is extremely brutal, and many superheroes lose their lives. Watching his teammates die, one of the young superheroes loses control in anger. He defeats every villain by himself and is about to kill the last one. Just then, Lady Liberty arrives in time and stops him. Furious, the young superhero says that villains kill superheroes without showing any mercy, yet heroes are always expected to spare their enemies. In his opinion, the Union's old code no longer fits the modern world, and the time has come to change it. Lady Liberty listens to him, but tells him to stay calm. She then arrests the villain herself and sends him to prison, bringing the incident to an end. The story once again returns to the past. Sheldon and his team are sailing across the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. One day, everyone hears loud voices coming from Sheldon's cabin. It sounds as if he is arguing with someone, even though no one else is inside the room. Grace and the others rush to the door in panic and discover that Sheldon is actually talking to someone they cannot see. They begin to fear that his unstable mental state could put the entire expedition in danger. They tell Walter about it, but Walter assures them that Sheldon is fine and that they have nothing to worry about. Meanwhile, the ship suddenly suffers a major mechanical failure and comes to a complete stop in the middle of the ocean. The situation quickly becomes critical. Fitz immediately rushes to the engine room, where two sailors are desperately trying to repair the engine. Because of his knowledge of machinery, Fitz realizes that dirt has clogged the engine. He advises them to clean it. As soon as they do, the problem is fixed and the ship starts moving again, but their troubles are far from over. A short time later, a violent storm strikes the sea. Massive waves begin shaking the ship from every direction. Seeing the danger, the captain immediately orders the ship to turn back. back. The moment Sheldon hears this, he completely loses his temper. He flatly refuses to return because he firmly believes that his mysterious visions are leading him toward an incredible truth. Seeing Sheldon's strange behavior, the captain orders the sailors to lock him inside his cabin, but Sheldon somehow manages to escape. He grabs a sailor's gun and forces the captain to continue sailing toward the mysterious coordinates. Just then, the captain pulls out his own gun, points it at Sheldon, and warns that he will shoot if Sheldon does not lower his weapon. At that very moment, the spirit of his father, Chester, appears before Sheldon once again. Whispering into his ear, the spirit tells him that everyone on the ship is trying to stop him from reaching his destination. For a brief moment, Sheldon almost believes him, but then he remembers Mr. Miller's warning that spirits always lie. The moment he recalls those words, he regains control of himself, and then something miraculous happens. Within just a few seconds, the terrifying storm disappears completely. A mysterious and powerful sound echoes across the middle of the ocean. At that exact moment, both of Chester's pocket watches suddenly shatter. Then, on the distant horizon, the same mysterious island that Sheldon had seen in his visions slowly begins to appear. The breathtaking sight leaves everyone aboard the ship completely speechless. Meanwhile, in the present day, Lady Liberty is on a new mission. There she finds a young superheroine lying badly injured on the ground. She has suffered a deep wound in her stomach and is struggling to breathe. Before taking her final breath, she tells Lady Liberty that she never broke the Union's code until the very end. She could have killed the villain and saved her own life, but she chose not to. After saying those final words, she dies. Seeing this, Lady Liberty is overwhelmed with rage. She unleashes all of her power and charges at the villain with uncontrollable fury. This time, she attacks relentlessly without caring about her own safety. In the end, she knocks the villain to the ground, but even after defeating him, her anger refuses to fade, and she is just about to kill him. At the very last moment, however, she stops herself. She spares the villain's life, but after this incident, she begins to seriously question the Union's old code. Meanwhile, the other superheroes are still examining the body of the fake Blackstar. After thinking everything through, they come up with a dangerous plan. They decide that if they can somehow enter the fake Blackstar's memories, they might finally uncover the truth behind the entire mystery. For this mission, Fitz builds a special machine while Walter prepares to use his telepathic powers to enter those memories. But Grace is deeply worried about the plan, fearing that even the smallest mistake could lead to a terrible disaster. So she suggests asking Hiko for help, believing that her abilities can make the mission much safer. The story now shifts to Tokyo, Japan. There, Hiko is carrying out a secret mission. Moving with lightning-fast speed, she eliminates all the guards within moments. Just as she is about to kill her final target, Walter suddenly enters her mind through his telepathic powers. Hiko instantly freezes in place, and the two begin talking inside her mind. Walter asks for her help with the mission. Hiko agrees, but only on one condition. In return, she demands $1 million. Walter accepts her terms without hesitation. He then leaves her mind, and Hiko finishes her mission before quietly walking away. The story then returns to the past once again. Sheldon and his team finally arrive at the mysterious island. Leaving their ship behind, they use a small boat to reach the shore. But after stepping onto the island, they have no idea which direction to take, so they begin walking through the jungle, guided only by their instincts. As they move forward, one strange challenge after another stands in their way. At times, they pass through dense forests, and at other times, they cross mysterious landscapes. It feels as though the entire island is constantly changing its form. Suddenly, a terrifying sandstorm appears. The powerful winds try to separate everyone from one another, but the team refuses to give up and keeps moving forward together. After surviving the storm, they make their way through a dangerous rocky path and reach a deep valley. Once they escape it, they become trapped inside a massive stone maze. For an entire day, they search for a way out. Eventually, they reach an open area where the skeletons of ancient warriors are scattered everywhere. Among them are Viking warriors as well as Arab warriors. Seeing this, everyone realizes that many others had tried to uncover the island's secrets before them, but none of them ever made it back alive. Suddenly, a gigantic stone wall rises from the ground in front of them, blocking every possible escape route. The moment Sheldon and George touch the wall, mysterious symbols begin appearing across its surface. Sheldon realizes that this is the key to solving the puzzle. He asks the rest of the team to place their hands on the wall as well. With every new touch, more mysterious symbols appear. As soon as the final symbol is completed, completed, the entire wall begins to glow and transforms into a massive doorway. The enormous gate slowly opens, allowing the team to enter the island's most mysterious place. There, they discover a glowing mystical lotus standing before them. As they approach it, each person sees a vision of the one they love most. Those visions congratulate them and reveal that they have successfully passed every trial of the island. In the very next moment, the entire surroundings begin to change. A gigantic vortex of glowing energy rises into the sky, spreading its divine light across the entire island. As the energy reaches Sheldon and the others, their bodies begin to transform and they gain incredible superpowers. At that very moment, they become the world's first great superheroes. The story then returns to the present day. Hiko has already arrived at the Union headquarters. With her help, Fitz activates the machine, and the fake Blackstar's brain activity begins working once again. Now, Walter uses his telepathic powers to enter the fake Blackstar's memories and finally uncover the truth behind the entire mystery. As soon as Walter enters the fake Blackstar's memories, he suddenly walks straight into a trap. The mental pathway around him begins closing in from every direction. If it closed completely, Walter would be trapped inside that world of memories forever. At that very moment, Hiko uses her powers to keep the mental gateway open so Walter can escape. But at the same time, another major crisis begins. The real Blackstar's prison cell suddenly unlocks by itself, and an emergency alert spreads throughout the entire prison. The guards immediately inform Brandon and the Utopian, but before they can arrive, Blackstar escapes. Meanwhile, inside the memory world, Walter finally comes face to face with George. Without wasting a second, George attacks him. Walter is an expert telepath, but he is not as powerful in hand-to-hand combat. Within moments, George begins overpowering him. At the same time, in the real world, Walter's heartbeat and condition start getting worse very quickly. Everyone realizes that something has gone terribly wrong with the mission. To save Walter, Grace also enters the memory world, but George is already prepared. He pulls out a mysterious weapon and attacks her. The moment it strikes, Grace's entire body becomes paralyzed, leaving her unable to move. On the other side, Brandon goes alone to face the real Blackstar. Once again, he believes he can defeat him without anyone's help, but he repeats the same mistake as before. Blackstar overpowers him in an instant and grabs him by the throat. He then tells the Utopian that if he refuses to break his code now, his son will die right before his eyes. Mocking him, Blackstar asks whether the Union's code is more important than his own son's life. For a brief moment, Sheldon is completely torn. He is just about to use his heat vision, which would certainly kill Blackstar. But at the very last second, Lady Liberty arrives and saves Brandon's life. Now, the three superheroes attack Blackstar together. Even then, Blackstar continues overpowering all of them, and the battle starts slipping out of their hands. Seeing his father in danger, Brandon unleashes a series of devastating punches to Blackstar's head. At last, Blackstar crashes to the ground. Brandon has the perfect chance to finish him once and for all, but this time, he remembers his father's lesson. He stops himself and spares Blackstar's life. Meanwhile, inside the memory world, George finally reveals the truth to Walter. He says that he played an equal role in building the Union, but later, his own teammates betrayed him and cast him aside. He is just about to show Walter terrifying visions of the future when Fitz suddenly shuts down the machine. The fake Blackstar's brain activity stops. The memory world begins collapsing, and Walter and Grace safely return to their bodies. After regaining consciousness, Grace asks Walter what he saw. Walter then shares everything he witnessed with the others. In those visions, they see a horrifying future where both the Utopian and Brandon are dead. Walter also reveals that George created the fake Blackstar and planted the trap inside his mind to lure them in. As soon as the truth comes out, the Union decides that George must be found and arrested as quickly as possible. Sometime later, after everything calms down, Walter thanks Hiko for saving his life. But Hiko smiles and reveals a shocking truth that even leaves Walter stunned. She says she has the power to read people's minds, and now she knows everything. The real mastermind behind the entire conspiracy was not George, it was Walter himself. He secretly created the fake Blackstar, arranged the real Blackstar's escape from prison, and planned everything to drive a wedge between Brandon and the Utopian, throw the Union into chaos, and make people demand a new leader. Without any hesitation, Walter admits that it is all true. He says that in his eyes, Sheldon's outdated ideals have become the world's biggest problem, and this was the only way to save the future. Hiko says she will keep his secret, but in return, she wants $50 million. Hearing this, Walter is deeply disappointed. Looking at Hiko, he says that he believed his daughter would always stand by his side, but today she has let him down. In the very next moment, he pulls out a knife and attacks Hiko without a second thought, and with that, it becomes clear that Walter is willing to eliminate anyone who stands in the way of his goal, even if that person is his own daughter.